went to America a few years ago, as I said, and I went to a conclave, and there was a guy called Floyd Dean. And Floyd Dean, I wish I could just click my fingers and transport him here now. He is the greatest showman on earth with a fly rod, and he's one of the best people with a single-handed fly rod I've ever seen. He's an old man, he'd be 70 years old probably, but he's a crack shooter, shotgun shooter, and his hand-eye coordination is exemplary. I've never seen anyone like it. And he's really competitive. He's a really, have you met Floyd Dean? Yeah. He's a really competitive person. Anyway, he had this thing. He was selling them out of the boot of his car. And he had 5 left, and I said, I'll have all of them, thank you. So I bought 5 of these from Floyd Dean. I just want to show you what it is. Many of you might have seen it already. It's got his email address on it. You can probably write him for one. And I'm going to leave it around, lying around, and I think you all should spend a bit of time with this thing to work out how it works. It's got a variable length handle. You can pull it out and extend it, and it's got a ball bearing in the end here. And the idea is that for a short cast we use a short arc, and I can give this to anyone and hear at 50 metres whether they've got their casting stroke right. Because if you use too big an arc, it doesn't sound click, 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 click. The clicking noise is supposed to be symmetrical, of course, for the back cast and the forward cast, or the left cast and the right cast. Click, 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 click. So for a short cast, if I'm trying to cast and I'm thinking of tournament casting 25 feet, it's something like that. Not like this. You can't cheat with this thing. It either goes click, 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 and it's correct, or it doesn't. So, as you need a longer cast, as Bill says, a little bit more power, a little bit more arc, we can pull this handle down to a longer length. So if I was to use the same arc I used before for my 25-foot cast, the ball doesn't go to the end. If I use it too big, the ball goes to the end and stays in the end. If there's tracking issues, the ball stays in the end. But when you get it right at this length, so to drive the ball that length, I have to do it harder, or faster I should say, not harder. I don't want you to think hard, I want you to just think fast. And of course, the angle is shallower, so this is a very steep angle, and the ball only has to go a short distance, so there's not a lot of force on it, and the ball falls very quickly in the vertical plane like that. So the timing is quick. So short cast, short arc, short timing. About right. I think any Triple F CCI instructor would tell you that. Longer cast, longer arc, more arc. This angle is shallower and the ball has to come more slowly, back a longer length. So that's the timing. You have to wait a long time before you go in the other direction. And of course he's got a rubber band down here to teach hauling. One of the hard things about hauling, of course, is to get the student to return the hand back from whence it came. And so this is a really good thing. And I've never read his note sheet here, but as I unwrapped it this morning, and just this first paragraph, during my years of teaching fly casting, and he would have taught fly casting for longer than any of us, it has been my experience that students have the most difficulty mastering 4 basic skills. These are acceleration, probably should have written smooth acceleration, stop, which we can argue about, waiting on the back cast, and the last is maintaining a quiet tip after the stop. Those people that squeeze the rod too tightly, they've got the carrot stuck up their clacker, and the cement band, and of course the ball doesn't slide down freely, it wants to stay up in the top. So he's painted the end of it red so that you can line it up with something in the distance and see that you're holding it in a very relaxed manner after the stop. Now I'm going to leave it here for people to play with today. And I want to hear you going click, 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 click. Otherwise I'll tell Floyd. Now look, Ling, what was I going to do? Narrow loops.
How do you teach someone? One of those that's difficult. Difficulty trying to create narrow loops?
We did a testing event in Japan last year in October with Bill and his mates, and some of the Japanese casters were really, really good casters, technically very good casters. They've been taught well, obviously. But when it came to some of the teaching aspects, which is the main focus of that CCI exam, when it came to some of the teaching aspects, they were not strong on the ability to teach. Now, just one example. I took a line out of Matt Howe's book, his casting examiner's book, and when we're casting narrow loops and wide loops, and on command a wide loop on the front, one of the standard questions Matt would ask, he'd say, "Mate, that's really good, you do the cast really well, you're a beautiful caster. Now I want to ask you about my wife." He says, "My wife's the dumbest woman on the planet," which is a bit unkind, and it's not true, he's not even married. But he says she's really dumb, she doesn't understand casting, and when she casts, her loops are too wide. What can you do to get her to make narrower loops? Same question that Link puts more a little bit better to me. So I said to the guy, "What can you do to get my wife's loops tighter?" "Tell her to make them tighter." I said, "All right, that's not going to work." "Well, tell her twice to make them tighter." "Well, what can you do? What can you do? Have you got some practice drills? Have you got some ideas that might help her to make her loops tighter?" "She must make them tighter." That was it. She must make them tighter. So it is really important, I think, if you're going to teach anyone to cast with a fly rod, one of the problems that we often find is when people start, the loops are too wide for a whole host of reasons. So you need to work out how to do that. So one of, here I go mentioning Mark's mate Lefty Cray again. One of the things Lefty says is, imagine trying to hit the tip off the rod with the fly line. So as you drag the fly line through with the rod tip, imagine trying to have a crash on the rod tip. Sounds simple. Is it what we do to tighten a loop? Not really, but I tell you what, it works really well. So someone that typically casts like this, the feeling, you cannot in any way say that you're trying to crash the line into the rod tip. You just can't. But to do this sort of, got it, missed it, oh, nearly got it, hit it, got it. It's an extreme. If you're not careful, you make a tailing loop. But I like it. It's a simple thing. Try and hit the tip of the rod. I really like that as an idea.
Makes your arm more active as well.
Yeah, without telling them to make their arm more active, you know. Another really good method of getting people to tighten a loop, again, and I use it a lot in casting schools, and this is a Joan Wolfe exercise. It's called picking leaves. Not picking noses like my kids pick their nose like this. They don't. No, it's not picking noses, it's picking leaves. So picking leaves, you pick an object on a tree at different heights, and you try and hit it. So I'm going to try and hit the globe with the end of the red line, the leader. So the loop has to be narrow. If I throw a big wide loop, you'll see the leader and the fly goes way past the light in an arc. But if I can tighten up that loop, I've got a chance of hitting it. And again, I like that as a concept. I don't want to tell anyone how to hold the rod. That's a style thing, you know. It's not that important. I'm not saying my way's best either, or Mark's way. It's better if you can get people to learn themselves. It's more empowering too, I can tell you. So, I don't think this is hitting the light, you know. We're just not going to hit the light with the leader. And of course, in real life, when you've got a 9-foot 5-weight rod, if you can put a decent tuft of orange yarn on the end, and it's, you know, so that they've got a real visual that if it hits the leaf, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This isn't going to work. Certainly, for people watching the tip of the rod, this is not going to work either. You know, if you're watching the tip of the rod, you can't hit the object. But if you can get people to stare at the object, it starts off like this, and then eventually gets like this. I think you should do that at different trajectories. I think you should do it at different casting planes. They should be tilted out, they should be vertical, and they should be tilt it in as well. And then I think for clever students you should leave them with that you should be able to do that on your back cast as well. So of course it starts like this, and eventually in a very short space of time it gets refined to a point where they can, hit the thing every time. I think that's a really good method of making narrow loops. And again, without any instruction, okay? Lefty Cray, when I met him with Simon Zarifa, he took 2 fly reels out of his bag, 2 orange lined fly reels, and he asked me to hold the leaders, and he held the spools, the reels, and he walked backwards away from me for 30 metres. So he walked the length of the fly line off the reels at arm space like this, 6 feet, and then he put them down on the ground. So he left on the ground a parallel 6 foot wide strip, and we stood in the centre of it, and he asked me, and you guys down there can't see, but he asked me whether I could just flip the line on the grass to the right and flip it on the grass to the left and keep it in the 6 foot track. When I could do that, of course he gets one line and we move it into 4 feet. Yeah. So then if you can keep it in 4 feet, he moves it into 3 feet. And I think, and I've used that ever since, I think that's a really good practice exercise. And I said to Lefty Cray, these 2 parallel 6 foot lines on the ground look to me like a cricket pitch. I don't know if people know what cricket is. I said to Lefty Cray, I said, gee Lefty, I said, do you know what cricket is? He said, cricket? A little black thing, critter like this. I said, no mate, it's a sport. And a cricket pitch, of course, is 22 yards long, of course. And it's about 7 feet wide. At the ends of each end of the cricket pitch, there's wickets. And if I put a sport cone like Ling's, my capable assistant Ling, Cunning Ling, has done here, with a dinner plate, if you just put a target, a bright orange target on a green piece of carpet like a cricket pitch, people just automatically get a tighter loop. Cool. No one does this. Watch out, Emma. If you're trying to hit that dinner plate there and here, no one does this. They look at the plate first, because it's a target and it's bright orange on a green mat. They look at the target, and the next thing you know, slip onto the target. Look at the next target, go. Now I've been a tournament caster for 30 years, and I'm plug casting as well as fly casting, and I am in awe of hand-eye coordination. And Floyd Dean, with a shotgun, he just looks at this thing flying through the air at 100 miles an hour and goes like that, bang, and gets it. Hand-eye coordination is king, and you need to trust it. If I give you targets, task-based learning, and say hit that target and that target, your loops won't be wide. The first one will be wide, and you'll think, Jesus, that wasn't a very good effort. The next one will be a bit better, the next one will be a bit better, and before long you'll be sliding it first while you're looking at the target with the little click. Slide, click, slide, click, and the loops will be really narrow. Try and develop tasks for teaching. Games. And make it fun. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, boring, can't see. What other ways can we make loops narrow? Certainly if I get people to break the rod in half, the loop becomes narrow automatically. Not because they're a better caster, not because they've learnt anything, just because it's a shorter stick. The shorter the stick, the easier it is to make a narrow loop. What other ways are there? Come on, you guys are supposed to contribute.
Minimum power.
Minimum power, yeah, Gav's a big one on this. Gav, I can remember talking to Gavin about distance casting, so this changing the subject just slightly. Gavin, when he's casting, it's 130 feet, doesn't want the leader to straighten over. He sees that as a fault. If you're casting distance and your delivery straightens a leader and your leader rolls over dead straight, he sees it as a casting fault. He wants to back off the power to 99%. I'm not going to tell you why, you guys think about that, but he's right. Of course it is better if it just flops over and you get that extra few feet, but he's not trying to get it to turn over. And I can tell you, if you can back off the power, if you can learn to back off the power and back off the power, you end up getting better loops, much better loops. Some other games at these conclaves, and maybe tonight when I get some tonic we'll find out about this sort of stuff. And we did this in China the other day, didn't we? Yeah.
You have to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's very good. So when you play games, everybody wants to try it, and then the only way you're going to get that play is you're going to have narrow loops. And by doing that, when you attempt it, you're going to targets. Who's going to have to give away?
Yeah, I can do it.
What?
Somebody's got a barrier. No.
Yeah, but it's back there.
No, it's okay. There's a hand.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
So simply by putting a plate a metre beyond the chair, and for you to get the loop to hit, for you to get the end of the leader to hit the plate, it has to be a tight enough loop to get through under the chair. Now Ling to me's been a bit generous, and this is the sort of thing you hear people doing with car windows. So you can wind a car window down and cast a loop into your car window. When you get good at that, wind the window only halfway down and throw the loop into the car window. And when you think you're really good, wind the opposite car window down and try and throw the loop right through the car and out both windows. And I agree, Mark, games are really, really important in this teaching stuff, particularly if you're going to teach kids. So,
Adults even more stressed out.
yeah, probably.
Price it is. Whoever's get it. So
Can I go first?
yes, you can go first. I'll get the price. Okay, so we want you to try, see whether you can hit the bottle through the under the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get somebody to try. Who wants to go? Your turn? No. Okay. Come on. There's a
Come
prize.
on, Kelvinator.
Kevin,
Come on,
yeah, right.
Push Ken. Come on, come here. No, don't worry. Anyway.
This is meant to teach. Just get the bank, right?
Now that should, if you can straighten that, should hit the bottom. It's got to go under the chair, old boy. It can't go over the chair.
Under the chair, touch the bottom.
Not bad. Oops. One hand.
Don't try to haul with that. It'll slide.
Okay. How about trying?
So,
How about trying going down first? Yes. Yeah. You can overhead half if you want.
tell me, Kelvin, is it easier if you get in the middle and do it overhead now?
Yes. Stand here.
So, or kneel here. Yeah, kneel, down.
Can I get this straight up?
But vertical casting plane. No, before you do it, tell me, do you think it's easier to do off the side or vertical? You're an idiot. Show me. Okay.
On the side.
Which do you think?
Of
Of course.
Yeah. You get a loop that's.
It's in line. It's in alignment straight away. It's not going out here.
There you go. There you go. Well done. That's good.
But the point is, you just got to do it.
Somebody.
Talk.
Hajar, come. Okay. Yeah. If you don't try, you won't know what it feels like. Yeah. Okay. Side way. Okay.
Closer.
Okay. Straight up. Kneel down straight. Vertical again. Okay. Almost there? Yes, getting there, yes. Okay, a bit more, narrow. Yes, getting there.
That was
Yeah, almost there. Wow, well done. There you go. So, when you play games like this, they automatically adjust themselves.
Yeah. 12 goes.
Yes.
13.